Somebody called Lindsey Graham, back to the Kavanaugh thing, Lindsey Graham, the Jiminy Cricket of the Senate. And, I couldn't understand the reference because it's been probably uh, over 20 years, if not more, since I've seen Pinocchio. So I went back and saw this video, which I can't play because I'll probably get another copyright strike. Thank you, Chappaquiddick. And in any case, this story, I thought at first it might be making fun of him, but this is it's from the Washington Post, but I, fuck them. So I'm reading it off of Winston-Salem Journal over in North Carolina. And it goes like this: Republican Jeff Flake may have become a momentary hero for Democrats, hoping to block Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh, but Senator Lindsey Graham has cinched the role as Jiminy Cricket of the U.S. Senate. Never one to shy away from cameras or fall short on quotable one-liners, Graham came out swinging during Senate Judiciary Committee hearings Thursday and Friday, fearing no consequence. Apparently, he railed against his Democratic colleagues with righteous outrage and said what was obviously true. That goes a little into what happened with Flake, which we discussed yesterday. So let's move on. But back to Graham, who is far more entertaining, even or especially when he's mad. The usually congenial senator showed up at Thursday's hearing with moral outrage on his arm, in truth, as a chaperone. Love him or not, and who doesn't love Jiminy Cricket? I saw this video, by the way. I'll put the link. Is hilarious. It's a take on this video. It's kind of a Disney parody of Always Wear Sunscreen, which was this kind of 90s era spoken word song that is all about like advice to people. And this is kind of using this, and I can't play it. I wish I could, but it uses like these Disney characters to give kind of moral allegories or something. But it is funny, and you should probably take a look at it. It's like the video says, only it's less than 2 minutes long. Railing at the Democratic side of the hearing room, Graham nearly shouted, "Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it." So a lot of people, by the way, I thought were very affected by Lindsey Graham's speech. I wasn't that much. I thought it was a pretty good speech, and I'm usually a pretty big critic of Lindsey Graham, and I still don't like his policies on giving money, basically corporate welfare to defense contractors and intervention in the Middle East and stuff like that. I think I'd say probably 80% of the time I don't like Lindsey Graham's policies. The only policies I probably would support of his are his tax policies and things like that, where I don't think that there's much disagreement between him and Rand Paul. But otherwise, I'm not a huge fan of his. But I thought his speech during that, or I guess his comments during the Kavanaugh hearing they were pretty good. A lot of people are basically giving him, the new Mike Pence Thunder Eyes and stuff like that, which is the Raiden Thunder God, because he really looked pissed off. And it might be just because initially I only heard it on audio. I didn't see it on video like other people who were watching the hearings live. Graham's passionate commentary was thus a rallying cry to Republican voters whose intensity has been flickering next to highly motivated Democrats, especially women. By Friday, he was calmer and more relaxed, perhaps because he believed Flake was on board. He spelled out the reasons Ford's story wasn't compelling enough to keep Kavanaugh off the bench. No supporting evidence or testimony, not even a time or place. Yet her testimony was heartbreaking and seemed sincere. She plainly has suffered. Kavanaugh, too, has suffered immensely, nearly losing control throughout his emotional statement. He was as credible as his accuser. I want to say while I have the opportunity, I don't know about credibility or not credibility. Brett Kavanaugh, his testimony, what I heard from it, was it was pretty consistent. I don't know if I'd say it was compelling. The emotion doesn't really affect me. But the Christine Ford testimony was not compelling at all. And what really, I have to say this. if you don't present any evidence, I really don't care what you have to say or how you feel while saying it, because that's the way I think we're supposed to think about it. If you're able to prove something that you're talking about, then there's something to consider. But otherwise, it doesn't really interest me. And in fact, there were a lot of things that she said during the testimony that kind of they raised more questions for me, especially concerning the fact that the attorneys had been recommended to her by the Feinstein Senate office. It doesn't make any sense for me to believe somebody who's basically being advised by somebody recommended to her by a committee member, by a member of the committee considering Kavanaugh. That's, in my opinion, that is a conflict of interest, and it shows even more how pathetic and uh, failed was the Feinstein approach to this. I would say that the portrayal of her as the villain in this whole saga, many times people engage in hyperbole. I'd say in this case it's really accurate. So while many were horrified by Graham's anger, I found it as cleansing and refreshing as a dip in the River Jordan. Geez, tell us how you really feel. His points, meanwhile, were compelling. Dianne Feinstein, Democrat of California, sat on Ford's July letter alleging the sexual assault until the eve of a scheduled committee vote on Kavanaugh. If she hadn't, there would have been ample time to investigate the claim and conduct interviews, which Grassley did as soon as he knew of the letter in late September. If not for a leak that was likely from the Democratic side, Ford's anonymity, which she deeply wanted, what could have been preserved, but this wouldn't have served the Democrats' seeming strategy of delay or their apparent hope for an emotion-packed display. Kavanaugh's suffering was epic. By all accounts, he has lived his adult life as a model citizen, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. With apologies for any nicknames that may ensue, Graham is a necessary voice, the human truthometer and translator who shouts the truth from the rooftops, then ambles amiably over to the cameras, smiles and jokes with the very people he savaged and tries to... So this, I think, is kind of bullshit, okay? You can't be 1 second just raging and going into cartwheels over something you think that is so outrageous, and then like the next second walk over and basically act like nothing has happened with the people that you're just condemning. And I think that's really the problem with all of this sudden praise for Lindsey Graham. But I'll tell you what's also kind of stupid. The fact is that Lindsey Graham, the other issue that people are bringing up is that a lot of people think that he's a gay guy, which I think is hilarious. I think it's hilarious for a number of reasons. A, yes, he does sound very flamboyant, and he's very short, and the whole thing where his fingers, he looks basically like, yes, I would say that it's something that is completely believable what they're saying. Now, at the same time, we're talking about the presumption of innocence. So this is a person who's always kind of denied that, which I guess is his right. But I don't believe Lindsey Graham. That's the way it is. But this is from Hornet, which I think is, I was looking up the news feeds and I was looking for like a little more of a partisan take on it. And apparently this is like one of these gay magazines or something. So, or gay news sites. And then they were talking about Rosie O'Donnell goes there with Senator Lindsey Graham, claiming you're a closeted idiot. So, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, 63, severely doubts. So then they go on and on and on about it. And so famed lesbian comedian Rosie O'Donnell tweeted Graham directly, writing, "Fuck you, you closeted idiot." So she really went there. And that Rosie O'Donnell Lindsey Graham tweet is just the most recent mention of the unmarried senator's rumored homosexuality, something he has vigorously denied. Julie Swetnick, the third woman accusing Kavanaugh of sexual misconduct, says she witnessed Kavanaugh attending 10 parties at a house where the boys would occasionally drug girls' drinks and fondle, grab, and even gang rape girls. Let me see if now there's not much more about here we go. Seeing Graham's tweets, O'Donnell tweeted Graham directly, writing, "Fuck you, you closet idiot. This is the patriarchy exposed. This is the reality. Deal with it." The Rosie O'Donnell Lindsey Graham tweet was followed by a second message from O'Donnell linking to an article in which Graham said he wouldn't let the first accuser's testimony sway his confirmation vote for Kavanaugh. In her second tweet, O'Donnell commented, "Senator Lindsey Graham, I hope you're not gay. We don't want you with your closed-minded, sexist bullshit." Graham once supported a constitutional amendment to stop same-sex marriage, has voted in the past against workplace protections for LGBTQ employees, has opposed the rights of same-sex couples to adopt kids, and was opposed to allowing gay soldiers to serve open in the military. Graham has never married. In 2010, let me see, gay rights activist Mike Rogers reportedly claimed to have pictures of a man who spent the night with Graham. But in 2010, Graham publicly disavowed rumors of his homosexuality in the New York Times. Graham told the publication, "I know it's really going to upset a lot of gay men. I'm sure hundreds of them are going to be jumping off this Golden Gate Bridge, but I ain't available. I ain't gay, sorry." So this is funny, I think. And by the way, so there's a woman who is part of the Walk Away campaign, and let me see here. She has a website, and her name escapes me at the moment, but I'll send this video to her. But she is gay, and she has this website called The Closet on the Right. If I just said that, sorry. But so this woman is, I think she came out of the closet, I think, in the 2000s. And there are a lot of people, I believe, who know that there's very little that the gay community can earn more from supporting the Democratic Party at the moment. And the reason for that is that legally, a lot of the big battles that were up for, gay people in the past have kind of been resolved through the courts. And I'll say this, okay? I respect people that put their opinions out there, even people who are, gay rights activists, even though I'm not for identity politics as such and everything. And I've always been sort of an opponent of that movement, because I think that they're, essentially they're trying to create an identity around a certain activity, and they call it a lifestyle. And it's not. I would say that what is a lifestyle when you do have a lot of these people who are, let's say, there was a woman, Irshad Manji, who I'll put her photo up, or even I'll maybe she has a website. Sorry, that was the wrong one. So this woman she is a lesbian, and she was born in Uganda, and she's a huge critic of Islam, and I would say that she's a very intelligent person. And the other thing is, you see her here with Cornel West, which I think is very surprising. This is a person who I think has risked a lot in order to bring her perspective to the public. And in my opinion, the fact that she happens to be a lesbian is not really a key issue, in my opinion. You can disagree with homosexuality or not, but the main thrust of her career has nothing to do with the fact that she's gay. That being said, my issue with some of these people like Rosie O'Donnell, who herself is gay, is that, now they're saying it is okay for you to make fun of somebody for being gay, even though for years they were saying that it's kind of off the table. They were saying that it's a real hot button issue, and that it discourages people from coming out, I guess. And I think that that does a disservice to their cause. Somebody like Rosie O'Donnell saying that, and to be honest with you, I think it makes people respect her even less. Okay, I think that you should be able to make fun of people for any reason that will kind of amuse you. Now, the only criteria for judging it is whether your joke is funny or not. I mean, because there is humor that simply falls flat and is kind of stupid. And I would say Rosie O'Donnell. When's the last time you've seen a Rosie O'Donnell comedy special where you were like, well, that really blew me away? I found something very groundbreaking about this. I don't remember ever seeing anything that she did really, grab me by the ears and say, well, this is a comic that. So therefore, Rosie O'Donnell, there's two things that you can evaluate her for: her obnoxious public personality, and basically the fact that she's she's all the time in the tabloids and things like that. Her comedy is kind of her career is the joke. Rosie O'Donnell was a talk show host for many years. She tried to launch her own magazine, which was a colossal failure. And then when that failed, she eventually ended up on The View. She got into a feud with Donald Trump, which was kind of sustaining her career for a while. And then people started ignoring her because her personality is basically like acid. People can't be around her. She's basically some sort. There are people who have said that Rosie O'Donnell basically darkens rooms and makes people wanna basically leave. She sucks the oxygen out of it. And I would say that there's other people who have made similar cracks about Lindsey Graham over the same period, such as Bill Maher. And I'll say this, okay? Look. There were always people who I think are never going to accept people because of their, I guess, sexual preference. Okay? And for me, I don't really care about that so long as I can say whatever the hell I want. If people, the fact is, I think that these gay people should be able to say whatever the hell they want. And I think that the same thing should be held for everybody else. And that's how I think that they would be able to better adjust and better, have a more comfortable role in the world than it is with throwing up all these fences and everything. So maybe it's a more healthy thing that Rosie O'Donnell and Bill Maher are making fun of Lindsey Graham because they think he's gay, even though there's no evidence. I mean, the only evidence of it is the way he behaves. There's no evidence in it, of it based on confirmable things that he's done. And I happen to think that, yeah, I see the same thing that they do. I see the same behavior from him that you would think stereotypically. There it goes. It's a stereotypical behavior that they're pointing at. It's not a behavior that's based on actual evidence. It's based on things that are cultural tropes that people think about gay guys. Okay? So what else was I going to say? The issue going forward is this, okay? A lot of people think that it was like this massive movement of activism that got gay people accepted into society. But if you judge by their own, the way that their media works, because I do think that there's like a massive, there are a lot of gay people in the media. The people that really were trailblazers for them, in my opinion, were people like Freddie Mercury of Queen. And I'm not a fan of Queen's music so much, but Freddie Mercury was a massive icon for rock fans, regardless of your political affiliation. So you could be somebody who hated, who was a huge homophobe and still be a fan of Queen. There were people, me personally, when I heard Rob Halford, the lead singer of Judas Priest, when I heard his music, I was like, you know what? In the end, the song is the song, and what he does on his own is not really what we're listening to. I don't have to care because he does an amazing job when he's on the stage. When you see some of these people, like, like I said, Irshad Manji's work stands on its own merits. You see some of these people like I'm trying to think of other people. There are plenty of of course there are like actresses that are lesbians or whatever. Those people, I don't think that we have to necessarily care about what they do in private life. The fact is that kind of gets pushed out into the open because the media wants there to be a focus on what they do in their private lives. The media wants their sexuality to be the focus. It doesn't want their career accomplishments to be the focus. There was a huge. The fact is, and I think I'm not going to be the only person who says this. The L Word, which was a huge television hit, what was it? Like it went off the air like only 8 years ago. Who was the audience that really made it a success? It was straight guys who like those lesbian sex scenes. Okay, that's what made it. And by the way, I think a lot of straight women liked it too. That's what made it a hit because that's kind of that curiosity from people who want to watch these shows. Now the fact is, much of the show was, there was a joke that I don't remember who said it. I think it was on House. I think it was on that TV show House. They made a joke that, the doctor, Dr. Gregory House, made a joke that most men find, the best entertainment is watching the L Word on mute, which, that's a comment more on the male, libido than it is on the show. But if you were one of these activist people, like Rosie O'Donnell, for example, you would find that offensive. You would say that's objectifying women. That's objectifying, looking at. And by the way, there were plenty of objections from the people like O'Donnell. These very aggressive looking, manly lesbians that were saying, well, it objectifies the lesbians. It makes them look too feminine and whatever, and it doesn't represent the entire community. Well, nobody watched your stupid show. So when they try to put you on TV, people think you suck, Rosie O'Donnell. And, I think eventually what really determines who succeeds is not social justice, it's market justice. And market justice isn't about fairness. Market justice is about what people genuinely like. And in some cases, you have things that are very liberal that end up succeeding due to market justice, and that includes the L Word, by the way. And in some cases, you have things that are very conservative succeeding. Tim Tebow is a hardcore conservative Christian, and basically, everything about his career and everything he would talk about was about Christ and whatever. And he was a major success, and fans loved the guy because that was his personality. So that was market justice in action, and you don't have to like Tim Tebow, but you can't just object to people liking a very conservative personality. You can decide, I'm not going to watch Tim Tebow's games, or I'm going to root for whoever is against Tim Tebow. But ultimately, you cannot object to something that's very, very that just resonates with people that on the grounds that you find it objectionable. Okay, you can make your case against it or whatever. Rosie O'Donnell saying this to Lindsey Graham, I think is it kind of shows how cheap of a person she is. I don't think Lindsey Graham's a great guy. I think he's kind of an idiot most of the time. I think what he did this week was a good thing. I think it was the appropriate thing for him to say, and I think it had to be said. But these attacks against him for being closeted or whatever, it's like who gives a shit what you say anymore, Rosie O'Donnell? You're not really a representative of anybody but these hysterical people who have been failures for so many years. And now you think that because Trump is in office, you're going to be the vanguard in opposing him. No, that's not the way it works. Now, if you're watching this video, please comment below. Tell me what you think is your opinion on this whole issue. I think we covered a few different angles. You know, I will try to send it to Closet on the Right over here just to get her opinion. Maybe she could give her own opinion on the Graham issue or Rosie O'Donnell or what that issue means to her. But I'm going to leave it at that. Please comment below, like the video, share the video, and also subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to my live channel, Razor Ray Live Wounds, which you have weekly live streams, and I'll talk to you guys later.